Have you ever been told to, just think positive when you're incredibly stressed out? And I mean, you just find it to be the most frustrating, useless advice ever.
Oh, absolutely. It's the worst.
Right. You might be dealing with a massive deadline or a serious health scare or just the overwhelming crush of daily life. And someone just casually offers up this, bumper sticker wisdom.
Yeah, it doesn't feel helpful at all.
No, it really doesn't. In that
Yeah.
moment, it feels wildly out of touch with the physical reality of what your body is actually experiencing.
Well, it feels dismissive, right? Because it completely ignores the actual mechanics of human neurobiology.
For sure.
Like when you are deeply stressed, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for logical thought and emotional regulation, it's essentially overridden by your amygdala.
The threat detection center.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So suggesting that someone just think positive is demanding high-level cognitive function from a system that has, well, temporarily locked the doors and pulled the fire alarm.
Which is exactly why the material we are diving into today is such a massive paradigm shift.
It really is.
We are looking at insights from a video transcript by Osman, and he's known as the blind Muslim yogi. He operates at the intersection of several disciplines, actually.
Yeah, he's an energy healer, a meditation teacher, and an entrepreneur.
Right, and he introduces this overarching concept of a thinking modality, which, surprisingly, isn't about positive thinking at all. It's more like an operational framework for your nervous system.
Yeah, we are moving past the impossible theoretical advice of positive thinking.
My goodness.
I know, right? Osman's entire thesis rests on highly practical, action-oriented strategies for managing your stress and your health. Instead of policing your internal thoughts, the focus shifts to radically controlling your environment.
Through a process he calls exposure management.
Exactly. You engineer the space around you so that your nervous system naturally downregulates. And you do this without having to force a single positive thought.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly grasp why this environmental engineering is non-negotiable, we have to look at the sheer biological toll of the problem we are trying to solve here.
The stakes are incredibly high. And Osman grounds this approach in a very sobering medical reality. Science shows that stress is a huge influential factor in 70 to 80% of all present-day illnesses.
Wait, really? Up to 80%?
Yeah. We aren't talking about mild fatigue. We are looking at a mechanism where chronic stress keeps the sympathetic nervous system locked in overdrive.
So it's just constantly pumping out cortisol and adrenaline.
Exactly. And over time, that constant chemical bath creates systemic inflammation, suppresses the immune system, and fundamentally alters cellular function.
Wow. That 70 to 80% metric changes the entire conversation.
It really does.
It means for the vast majority of people dealing with physical symptoms, stress is not just a byproduct of being sick. It is a primary architect of the illness itself.
Now, Osman is very careful to contextualize this. I mean, he is an energy healer and a yogi, but he immediately issues a critical medical caveat.
Right, which is so important.
Yeah, stress management is just one aspect of health that is in your control. You absolutely cannot neglect going to a doctor.
Because complex illnesses involve profound chemical imbalances or deep-seated inflammation, right?
Yes. Or acute infections that require licensed professional medical treatment.
Like you cannot meditate away a ruptured appendix or, a severe viral infection.
No, definitely not. There is a baseline of physiological breakdown that absolutely requires modern medicine.
But the intervention point, that
Yeah.
70 to 80% influence, that's where we have agency.
Exactly. And the dilemma Osman points out is that theoretically, telling someone to stop thinking negatively to lower their stress seems logical on paper.
On paper, sure.
But for all practical purposes, when you are in a state of stress, implementing that is nearly impossible. Your internal alarm bells are just drowning out your internal monologue.
I always think of it this way. Telling someone in the middle of an anxiety spike to just stop being negative is like telling a sinking ship to simply stop taking on water.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. It doesn't actually hand them a bucket. You're identifying the catastrophe without providing any sort of mechanical solution to bail them out.
That is spot on. And since internal thought control is practically impossible in that moment, Osman's solution abandons the internal landscape completely.
It shifts entirely to the external.
Yes. If you cannot control the thoughts generating the stress, you control your exposure to the inputs creating those thoughts. He basically treats your sensory environment as a biometric intervention.
Which brings us to the first pillar of exposure management. And honestly, easily the most complicated one, the human element. the idea of curating the people we interact with.
Right. The directive here is to reduce or completely eliminate your exposure to negative people.
Easier said than done.
Oh, for sure. But the underlying mechanism here is emotional contagion. Human beings possess mirror neurons, so we biologically simulate the emotional states of the people around us.
So if someone in your vicinity is constantly radiating anxiety or complaining or operating in a state of high conflict,
Your nervous system will reflexively mirror that stress response. You don't have to force yourself to be positive if you simply remove the source of the biological trigger.
okay, that sounds great in theory, but what if you work right next to this negative person? Or, worse, what if you're married to them?
That is the big question.
Yeah, I mean, you can't exactly just vote them off the island. We can't all retreat to a mountaintop and only interact with perfectly actualized human beings.
And Osman acknowledges this messy reality directly. If you are married to or living with a negative person, beyond simply praying for patience, the actionable step he insists upon is seeking professional counseling.
See, counseling makes sense long term, but I imagine someone listening right now is thinking about the logistics. Like, therapy takes months to work and it costs money. What is someone supposed to do today while they wait for that first appointment?
Well, the act of bringing in a professional counselor isn't just about talking through feelings months down the line. It is an immediate act of structural environmental control.
Oh, interesting. How so?
The moment you introduce a neutral third party, you alter the geometry of the conflict. You are no longer absorbing the negativity directly. It's being routed through a mediated framework.
That makes a lot of sense.
And Osman shares a really specific metric on this. Professional counseling can reduce conflict by at least 50% and up to 80%.
Wait, a 50 to 80% reduction in daily relational conflict? That is a massive decrease in the amount of cortisol your body is forced to process.
It's huge.
I mean, even the act of scheduling the appointment takes the burden of managing that person's negativity off your shoulders and turns it into an external process.
Exactly. You are basically building a containment protocol for the negativity in your physical environment.
Okay, but even if we perfectly curate the people in our living rooms and our offices, we all carry a portal in our pockets that grants access to millions of incredibly stressed, angry voices. The digital environment seems infinitely harder to manage.
Oh, it's definitely a challenge. And this is where Osman introduces a ruthless standard for your information diet.
I'm ready. What is it?
For anyone suffering from chronic stress, anxiety, or depression, he implements a hard rule. Completely eliminate news items, news channels reading the news, and even trending news chats.
Wow. Complete elimination. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because we often treat our media intake like an all-you-can-eat buffet where we just pile whatever is trending onto our plate.
Oh, totally. We just consume whatever's there.
Right. But Osman is suggesting we need to treat it like a highly restricted, prescribed nutritional diet.
That's a perfect analogy. We treat our brains like they possess an ironclad immune system against information, but they don't.
They really don't.
Our brains have a built-in evolutionary negativity bias. They are designed to hyperfixate on potential threats. So when you are already dealing with chronic stress or illness, reading terrifying headlines is like exposing an open wound to dirt.
Ouch. Yeah, your cognitive immune system is already compromised.
Exactly. Consuming the news isn't keeping you informed in that state. It is actively harming your physical recovery.
So it requires a shift from passive absorption to active consumption.
Yes.
Because at that buffet, you're passively taking whatever the media algorithm serves you. And let's be honest, that algorithm is mathematically optimized for outrage and fear.
100%.
So Osman is demanding that you actively dictate the terms of your consumption. You must actively seek out what you want to listen to.
And he actually outlines his own personal media diet to demonstrate what this active curation looks like in practice.
Oh, I'd love to hear what he consumes.
To keep his exposure positive, he intentionally seeks out content focused on plant-based nutrition, business chats, and stand-up comedy.
Comedy. That's such a potent biometric tool. I mean, laughter physically forces the nervous system to downregulate. It interrupts the stress cycle entirely.
It's basically an instant reset. He also seeks out talks on consciousness and meditation and popular podcasts featuring positive, influential people.
So he isn't isolating himself from information. He's just optimizing the quality of it.
Precisely. For instance, instead of watching breaking news about health crises, he specifically watches medical channels to stay abreast of the latest advancements in medical science.
That is such a smart pivot. He is still engaging with the topic of health and the world at large, but he's accessing it through an educational, empowering framework rather than a sensationalized, fear-based one.
Right, because learning about a medical breakthrough creates a very different neurological response than doom-scrolling casualty statistics.
Okay, so once you have silenced the negative news and you have established boundaries with the negative people in your life, you are left with a significant amount of auditory silence.
And nature abhors a vacuum.
Exactly. So Osmond's strategy fills that space with the most active therapeutic form of exposure management available: music.
But he doesn't just use it as pleasant background noise to pass the time. He treats it as a prescribed therapy for reducing stress and improving calmness.
Like actual medicine.
Yes. He points specifically to authentic meditation music. He recommends resources like a YouTube channel called Meditative Mind, noting, of course, that he has no personal affiliation with them.
Right.
He highlights things like therapeutic flute music. But the key here isn't the instrument itself, it is the underlying physics of the sound. This music is recorded on certain frequencies that are proven to positively influence the mind.
I imagine this is where we get into the neurological mechanism. We aren't just talking about a flute sounding pretty moot. We're talking about manipulating brain function.
Exactly. It relies on a process known as brainwave entrainment. Your brain operates at different electrical frequencies depending on your state of arousal.
Okay, so when you are stressed, you are typically in that high alert beta state.
Right. And when you introduce a rhythmic auditory frequency, your brain waves naturally begin to synchronize with that external rhythm.
Wow.
You are literally using sound waves to physically drag your nervous system from a state of panic into a relaxed alpha state.
Which makes my absolute favorite detail from this entire deep dive so fascinating.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
We are talking about a blind Muslim yogi, right? An advanced meditation teacher who clearly understands the profound impact of these calming frequencies. Yet when he exercises and does yoga, he does not listen to gentle flute music.
Nope. He listens to high-energy trance music.
Yes, he explicitly states it is non-negotiable for him. Despite his advanced meditation practices, he exercises and does yoga to trance music. He even sings along to it, simply because it makes him feel good.
It completely shatters the stereotype of what wellness is supposed to look like.
It really does.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? We have this rigid image of yoga requiring absolute silence or maybe some gentle chimes in a dim room. But if the goal of thinking modalities is simply to reduce stress, is doing yoga to high-energy club music just as valid if it actively boosts your mood?
It is entirely valid because it proves that the intention of the input matters more than the aesthetic. Osman isn't trying to look like a stereotypical yogi, he is trying to shift his neurobiology.
That is such a key distinction.
Yeah, and because his baseline is already calm from his other exposure management practices, he has the flexibility to use high-energy music as an active stimulant to flood his system with endorphins and dopamine.
It is a calculated, joy-based intervention.
Exactly. The intervention is whatever successfully changes your physiological state.
I love that.
And Osman actually backs up this clinical view of music by referencing Dr. Phil McGraw.
Oh, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, and he highlights Dr. Phil's extensive qualifications to validate the point. He's a PhD psychiatrist with over 30 years of proven clinical experience, on top of 17 to 19 seasons hosting his television program.
He's seen a lot of human behavior.
For sure. And Dr. Phil recommends music as an amazing therapy to change your mood, stating plainly that if music can help you, it is, quote, better than taking a drug.
Better than taking a drug. That elevates curating a playlist from a casual hobby to a proactive healthcare decision. You are literally programming the soundtrack of your environment to dictate the chemical state of your brain.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we return to that terrifying initial statistic: 70 to 80% of illnesses are heavily influenced by stress.
Yeah, that number is daunting.
When you look at it in a vacuum, it feels paralyzing. But when you view it through the lens of Osman's exposure management, it transforms into a massive reservoir of agency.
Yes, because real wellness and stress management isn't about perfectly policing your internal thoughts. It isn't about shaming yourself every time a wave of anxiety hits.
No, not at all.
It is about fiercely and unapologetically protecting your external environment. By managing who you talk to, what you actively choose to watch, and the specific frequencies of sound you let into your ears, you naturally change your thinking modality.
You stop fighting the sinking ship and you simply patch the hull.
Exactly.
By changing the inputs, the outputs, your thoughts, your stress levels, and ultimately your physical health, well, they have no choice but to follow suit.
If your physical health is quite literally shaped by the media and sounds you consume every day, what is the single background app in your life right now? A news alert, a stressful playlist, or a casual acquaintance that you could confidently mute today to immediately upgrade your wellness?
That's a great question to reflect on.
Right. Think about what you are allowing to run in the background of your nervous system.
Hmm.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Osman's work. If you want to dive deeper into these practices, you can find more resources on his website, yogawellness786.com. Take control of your environment and take care of yourselves.